Welcome into Rogue Football. I'm your host, Jordan DeLugo. Thank you so much for tuning in here today, Wednesday, December 6th, entering week 14 of the 2023 NFL season. We have got AFC Power Rankings fired up to get into it. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe here on YouTube. So let's go ahead and kick this off with the number one team. We will talk about all the teams that are really in contention for the playoffs right now, and then obviously look at the bottom of the AFC as well. Kansas City Chiefs are still the one. For me, the number one team. When you look at the Chiefs, they have a very good defense. They have Patrick Mahomes. They have Andy Reid, Travis Kelce. This is a team that, in my opinion, over the last several years, really it's just about getting to the postseason. Obviously, they're going to need to tighten some things up. They're going to need to play better football on both sides if they want to be the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs that we've seen so often over the last couple years. But I still think when you get this team in the playoffs, single elimination, this is a team that I would not want to play with Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and all these guys on the other side of the football, right? So I still got the Chiefs on top, even though they don't have the best record in the AFC right now. I still think that's the team to beat in the AFC when you're talking about the playoffs. And after that, I have the Ravens and the Dolphins. It's really difficult for me to parse who I would have ahead of each other. But for me, I took the Ravens at number 2 overall. I think they've been a little bit more consistent throughout the season than the Dolphins. I think that they're a little bit more complete on the lines of scrimmage than the Dolphins. But again, I think the Dolphins have every right to be ranked number 2 if you see it that way, because the Dolphins, they have all the speed in the world. They have a fantastic head coach in Mike McDaniel. Tua's playing good football. Team speed on the offensive side of the ball is incredible. Then you look at the defense starting to play better. Even without Jalen Phillips, this is a talented defense that is coached by one of the best defensive coordinators on the planet. I think that they are a very dangerous team moving down the stretch here, but they do have a difficult schedule to end the season. We're going to see what they're made of, because they're still a team that hasn't really been beating up on any good teams to this point in the season. So I think the Ravens have a little bit better wins on their resume. I think the Dolphins, though, are right there with them. So they are the 2 and 3 for me. Looking at the 4th team in the AFC, I have the Jaguars at 4 overall. I think it's difficult to kind of place the Jaguars right now when you talk about the fact that Trevor Lawrence has the high ankle sprain. When will he be back? They are 8 and 4, so they're obviously in position to be at the top of the AFC South, but you've got the Texans and Colts nipping at their heels. So we're going to see how it plays out. When can Trevor Lawrence come back? I will say this is a quarterback that does not like to miss football games. It is a high ankle sprain. He has not been ruled out against the Browns. Can Trevor Lawrence play after what we saw happen on Monday night, a short week? We saw it against the Saints earlier this year. Thursday night football, short week. Didn't look like there was any chance Trevor Lawrence could play after what happened to him with the knee. He went out there and did it. And so Trevor Lawrence, I don't know what he's made out of, but this is a guy that does not miss football games. I think it's going to be a tall task to play this weekend against the Browns, but I think he'll be back sooner rather than later, even if it's not this week. So I think you talk about the Jaguars with a healthy Trevor Lawrence, or a relatively healthy Trevor Lawrence, a Trevor Lawrence that feels he can suit up and go play. I still think that they're one of the better teams in the AFC. Obviously, falling to the Bengals was embarrassing on Monday Night Football, but everything that could go wrong did go wrong for the Jaguars in that one. Then 5, I have the Houston Texans, a team that has beaten the Jaguars once, took the Jaguars to the brink in their other game. Really competitive young football team. CJ Stroud's such a good young quarterback. They're well coached on both sides of the ball. They've got talent on both sides of the ball. They might not be the most mature team in terms of guys that have been there and done that in the postseason, but they're very talented, very well coached, and I wouldn't put much past them with the group that they have, and they're just going to continue to gain confidence, continue to build on what they have. I have the Bills at number 6, even though they certainly do not have a better record than some of these other teams that are behind them. I just still think if the Bills are able to find a way into the playoffs, they're going to be one of those teams you don't really want to play, because they still do have Josh Allen and they still do have a bunch of talent on both sides of the ball. They are well coached. Some might argue that, but I still think that they are very well coached. So I do have the Bills at 6 overall, even though a lot of folks might have them lower. I have the Broncos at 7. I think that they're a team that has been on a hot streak. Obviously, they did just fall to the Texans, but the recipe that they have going right now with the heavy running game, with the big personnel packages, with Russell Wilson playing better football this year under Sean Payton, and a defense that has plenty of talent on that side of the ball as well, I think the Broncos deserve to be in the 7th seed, and I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are right behind them. The Steelers, I'm not sure exactly how it's going to play out the rest of the season for them. They do have some decent wins. They do have some ugly losses. Obviously, they fired Matt Canada a couple weeks ago. We're going to see how it plays out in Pittsburgh. Kenny Pickett dealing with the ankle. Not sure exactly how they're going to play the rest of the season, but Mike Tomlin coached football team. They never are going to finish under 500, so you got to have them up there, at least in the middle of the pack here in the AFC. Cleveland Browns I have up next. Obviously, no Deshaun Watson the rest of the year for them. He was starting to catch fire for them a little bit, but they still have a very talented defense. They still have plenty of weapons on the offensive side of the ball, a talented offensive line. But the thing about the Browns is that they have not been playing the best football the last 2 weeks, right? Against two teams that on paper, a 7-3 Browns team and then a 7-4 Browns team, probably should have beaten. They came out and laid some eggs on the defensive side of the ball as well. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on with the Browns. I think that they've got to get the ship righted because 2 straight losses. Now you have the Jaguars coming in here with Trevor Lawrence, without Trevor Lawrence. That should be a dogfight between the Browns and the Jags. We'll see how that plays out. I have the Colts at number 10 overall. They are 7-5. They are scrappy. They've been finding different ways to win football games, but no Jonathan Taylor right now. We're going to see when he's able to come back, if he's able to come back. Zach Moss can get the job done for them. They are scrappy. They are well coached by Shane Steichen, but I'm just not sure that I see them being able to beat some of these other teams that I have ahead of them consistently. I know that it's tight in the middle of the AFC here. And then at 11 overall, I have the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals just beat the Jaguars. They are a talented football team. They are a well-coached football team, but they are without Joe Burrow. So it's hard for me to get super excited about what they can do, even with a big win on Monday Night Football over the Jaguars. I still think that with Jake Browning, you're now seeing other teams are going to be able to see what they've done the first 2 weeks. They had 2 different game plans, really. And I think that the Bengals, while it was a great game plan for Jake Browning and he was super accurate, I think that teams are going to be able to figure out how to get pressure or how to drop enough cover guys to slow down Jake Browning because, they went max protect last week quite a bit. They got him moving in the pocket, out of the pocket a little bit last week. I think that teams will be able to figure it out and slow down the Bengals, but we'll see how it plays out for them. Obviously, that was a really impressive offensive performance for them. The Raiders I have at 12 overall. They've been playing a little bit more inspired football since the firing of their head coach. Obviously, I think that they can be a difficult team to beat, but they're still a team that I think most teams in the AFC will handle business against. Chargers at number 13, such a disappointment that they are very talented on both sides of the ball. I don't think Brandon Staley and that coaching staff is getting the most out of the talent. I do think that they made some questionable decisions over the last couple years personnel-wise, but they should be so much better than this with Justin Herbert, with some of the talent that they have. But this is where they're at right now. They're a team that really scares no one. And they are a team that can probably hang with you. But do you have any confidence the Chargers are going to win a tough game at the end? I don't. I have the Titans next up. They're a little bit more feisty than they had been earlier. Will Levis can do some things. They just took the Colts to the brink at the end of that game, but the Colts had to have some magic on special teams to win that football game against the Titans. I think the Titans are not a good team, but they are a team that can kind of scratch and claw, give you a difficult time. Mike Vrabel is a hell of a head coach, and they still have some of the guys that have kind of elevated them over the last couple of years. Obviously, they've lost some of them, talking about A.J. Brown, but I think that they're still scrappy enough to be ahead of the Jets and the Patriots, who bring up the rear in the AFC. The Jets right now, I just don't know what their direction is at quarterback. Obviously, they have a good defense, a talented defense, but it's hard for that group to play consistent football when the offense is as bad as it is currently. And then the Patriots, I think that they've got to blow things up at the end of this year. They've just been atrocious for most of the season. And Bill Belichick, is it his last year there? I don't know, but I do know things have got to change in New England before 2024. That does it for my AFC Power Rankings. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. You can also hit me up on Twitter at Jordan DeLugo. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. Please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you enjoy the content here at Rogue Football. Y'all have a good one.